enforcing agencies like police. Suppose he is arrested by the police during the course of investigation for purposes of custodial interrogation or for purposes of recovering some incriminating material that was used in the commission of offence. The step on the part of the police would be to produce him before the court. There are 11 guidelines of the Supreme Court of India issued in 1994. Jogendra Singh State of UP, 1994 Supreme Court. D.K. Basu, Dilip Kumar Basu, West Bengal, 1997 Supreme Court. 1997 Supreme Court. A.K. Jawhari, State of UP, 1997 Supreme Court. So there are these leading decisions of the Supreme Court wherein 11 guidelines have been issued by the Supreme Court. So what are the roles, what are the duties of arresting officers, what are the rights and privileges of the accused at the time of being arrested. So I'm not here going in all those details because it will consume a lot of time. But there is complete guideline to ensure and safeguard the rights of the person arrested by the police. Suppose that now this arrestee, this accused is produced before the magistrate. So what proceedings are undertaken before the magistrate? The first step is remand. Whether it is police custody remand, judicial custody remand, or it's a transit remand. There are 3 types of remands. So these are the first steps which are taken at the level of the magistrate before whom this arrestee is produced first time by the police. A question arises, nowadays police are saying that it is at many times not becoming possible to produce the accused physically before the magistrate for purposes of granting remand under 167. Many magistrates put queries, seek help from me. Sir, tell me, police is saying that accused is there in the hospital, accused is somewhere else, and we are producing the paper, his arrest memo along with case diary. Kindly grant the remand without insisting the physical production of the accused before the magistrate. The answer lies that no, such remand cannot be granted. Whatever there be the difficulty, the crisis posed by this pandemic, police is duty bound in law to produce the accused before the magistrate when it is a matter of first remand. At the stages of second or subsequent remands, when accused is already there in jail, in judicial custody, in custody authorized by the court, then physical production of the accused for second or subsequent remands is not mandatory. But as regards the physical production at the first remand, it is imperative, it is mandatory. No court, no magistrate can grant any sort of remand, police remand or judicial remand, unless the accused is physically produced before the court. Here, whatever the difficulty problem with the police, they have no other choice except to produce the accused before the court. So this thing should be very clear to the police authorities. They will have to observe the law, otherwise the magistrate will have no other choice except to refuse the remand for non-production of the accused before them. You know, for purposes of grant of remand, for the essential material which is required for the magistrate is number 1, physical production of the accused, number 2, production of the case diary by the investigating agency, and number 3, it is necessary to remand him into judicial or police custody because the investigation would not be completed within a period of 24 hours. So these are few preconditions which are necessary to be fulfilled for purposes of seeking remand by the court, by the police from the court. Then let me take up another matter. Suppose a person has not been arrested. He is suspected of having committed some offense. He voluntarily wants to surrender before the court. Courts are not functioning. They are in hot spot area, declared to be hot spot area. Judges are not going to the court. Then the via media has been evolved. A single magistrate, a single judge would be spared by the district judge of that session division to go to the police, to go to the jail or to a particular place. Only one court will be kept open only one staff will come, and after doing this remand work, my state will come back. Of course, there are guidelines while doing this remand work of the accused. All the directions issued by the government of India, the state government, from time to time for observance during this pandemic area will be observed. So with these cautions and precautions, courts are still there, system is still there, law is still there, constitution is still there, all sorts of legal and judicial remedies in the event of any urgency is available. So nobody can feel that during this crisis there is no remedy, because you know, if a person has a constitutional or legal right, a civil right, and he feels it is violated, then he must have a remedy, irrespective of the procedure. You know that every provision of law, every procedure is divided to be into three categories. You take any substantive provision of law, you take up any procedural law, it will either be mandatory or directory or discretionary. So every provision which is made by our legislatures can be classified into these three categories. Number one, either the provision would be mandatory or directory or discretionary. The nature of procedure is only directory. It is mandatory only when non-observance of the procedure would result into injustice or will deprive the party of its rights. Then it will be treated as mandatory. Otherwise, in all cases, a procedure is always directory in nature and hardly and only very rarely it is treated to be mandatory. So please always keep in mind the nature of provisions: directory, discretionary, mandatory. So this should be kept in mind, and any non-observance of procedure will not necessarily end into illegality or injustice or invalidity if it has not deprived the person unjustly of it, resulted into any injustice to either of the parties. Now, I wish some queries, some questions should also be posed from the audience who are participating in this program side by side, or if you prefer, to let me finish my talk and then keep your queries reserved at the end. It's your choice. If you prefer to put the queries during my talk, you are free to put your queries. If you reserve it to be put to me at the end of this talk, choice is yours. But I am offering to, please, if you want to seek any clarifications, you are welcome. You can do it. Let me quote certain other provisions from the criminal side. Anticipatory bail, interim bail, regular bail, cancellation of bailable or non-bailable warrants issued by the courts against the accused. These are certain matters which involve some sort of urgency. If the police is rushing behind some person to make his arrest, to prevent his apprehension at the hands of police, the citizen or even a non-citizen has also got a remedy through courts. He can approach the court for staying his arrest. It can be done by the High Court under Article 226, in some cases under 482 of the CRPC. Lower judiciary, the session judge, the magistrate, they have not been empowered by ordinary prescriptions of law contained in CRPC to stay arrest. There, the provision of 438 CRPC, 439, 437, 436, they are there for bail or anticipatory bail or interim bail. Going in detail of all these remedies, procedural remedies and other aspects will not be possible here because of paucity of time. I am just reminding you people of the remedies which even this pandemic period people are having with them. If they are likely to be apprehended, caught by the police, arrested by the police, you know the manner how people are dealt with when they are once they are in the custody of police. I'm not going on those issues. That may be a controversial thing, but I'm just coming back to my issue under discussion with you. Any person who feels that his personal liberty is in jeopardy, is in risk, he can move anticipatory bail, he can seek interim bail, he can seek regular bail. The issue is how these bail applications should be disposed of by the courts. You know, interim bail, anticipatory bail may be granted at the initial stage, but when it is a regular bail, it has to be granted on the merits of the matter. Merit of the matter doesn't mean that after weighing the evidence collected by the police. A lot many things are there which are weighed, which are considered at the time of granting of regular bail under 439 or 437 by the session judge or by the magistrate. So, if any one of you wants to go into detail of these things, which are the relevant considerations which weigh with the courts for granting regular bail, then you can consult my article, Bails and Protection of Personal Liberty. This is 110 pages article available on my website on Google, and the name of the website is lawhelpline.in. Judges consult it, magistrates, teachers, advocates, they consult it. If you like, you can also consult it for any purposes, the nuances, the finer points, aspects which are often raised before the courts and which are dealt with by the courts. So let me take up other issues. How can bail application be moved when the courts are locked, campuses are not open? So where to file, with whom to file? Again, you can press into service the email. All electronic devices can be used. Electronic devices means which are recognized electronic devices either under the IT Act or under the Evidence Act since 2000. So any mode can be applied by a person aggrieved of any issue to submit his application, his petition to the court. And I think email is the best medium to submit the petition, the application to the court. High Court has permitted it, where system has been developed in district judiciary. This system is also, this facility is also available in some of the districts, rather say in many of the districts. A few districts which are newly created in our state, they are not that lucky where they are having the necessary infrastructure, all the means and support which are required to deal with the applications online. But where these facilities are available, a citizen should try his remedy through these electronic mediums, and they are valid. Let me quote one example where a service matter of PGI was raised before the Honorable Chief Justice of Allahabad High Court a few days back through virtual medium online. So advocate was arguing from somewhere through video conferencing. The Honorable Chief Justice, the division bench, was hearing his submissions. Then the advocate remarked during the course of hearing, "My lord, it is virtual court. I'm feeling difficulty. All my grievances would not be addressed in this virtual judicial system, the virtual court." The Honorable Chief Justice then remarked, "No, Mr. Advocate, it is not a virtual court. It's a real court. There is no virtual law. There is no virtual system, virtual order or judgment. The law is not virtual, court is not virtual, judge is not virtual. Of course, means may be virtual. Instead of presenting your application in a hard form, in paper book form before the court, you are submitting your application and making your submissions through virtual medium. So it is a procedure. It is procedural part, not substantive part of the justice delivery system. So virtual procedure doesn't matter. What matters? The courts are very much there. Remedies of being heard are very much there, and the courts are there to pass appropriate orders once the submissions are over. So every remedy which was available earlier is available even today. If one proceeds to apply these things available in IT Act and Evidence Act, the electronic records, electronic mediums. Then let me come to some other issues. What about regular business in criminal cases? Let me clarify what are the regular proceedings in a criminal case. Any proceeding which takes the case a step forward towards final disposal, towards judgment, is called a regular proceeding. Arrest of accused, production of accused before the magistrate or the court for purposes of remand is not a regular proceeding. Bail matter is not a regular proceeding. Warrant or cancellation of warrant is not a regular proceeding. Production of sureties, verification of their bonds, production of their bail bonds, cancellation of their bail bonds, all these are non-regular proceedings. They do not make any progression towards the final disposal of the case, towards judgment, final judgment. They are ancillary proceedings. सहायक कार्यवाहियां हैं, वो ट्रायल की पार्ट नहीं होती. तो ट्रायल की पार्ट क्या होती है इन क्रिमिनल केस? ट्रायल commences in a criminal case from the stage of charge. Framing of charge itself is a proceeding of the entire trial. When the court proceeds to apply its mind to the entire material on record, then that proceeding is called regular proceeding, part of trial. In a bail matter, that is not done. Evidence is not appreciated in bail. Finding is not recorded. A case is not declared, a fact is not declared to be false or true at the stage of bail or remand. This is done only in the final judgment, at the stage of final disposal of the case. So anything which deals with the entire gamut of facts of case, that is only final, only part of trial or final hearing. Same is the position in a civil case. When the court frames the issues, then the trial starts. Framing of issues in a civil case itself is part of trial, because thereafter the evidence of parties would be led, arguments would be heard, judgment would be delivered. Here in a criminal case, charge would be framed, prosecution will lead its evidence, then a statement of accused in his defense will be recorded under 313 of the CRPC. Then accused would be provided opportunity to lead his defense evidence, examine his defense witnesses if any. Then arguments of both parties would be heard. Then judgment would be delivered. Sentencing will be done. So these are parts of trial. But bail, remand, this and that proceedings are not part of trial. So regular proceedings can be avoided during this pandemic era. Our judicial system must respond with its meager resources, limited resources, to only those matters which it can cope with easily. I think in present scenario, dealing with the urgent matters like bail, etc., like urgent matters in civil, interim injunction, ad interim injunction, violation of interim injunctions, they are urgent matters and they must be addressed, they must be dealt with, and regular proceedings can be deferred. If such proceedings are deferred for a while, they will not result into any deprivation of rights or any injustice, because our system is known for delays. Given the meager resources, a lot of procedural issues, a lot of other problems which the judicial system is facing in our country for the last several decades, and which have gone unaddressed. And let us only hope the day will come when the system will be efficient and more responsive, more faster. Then that will be done. Let us have hope. But as of now, only those matters which are urgent in nature, they must be taken up, and I think courts are taking up such matters. One thing is, what is the role of the police in a criminal case? It submits its case diary, it submits its application, submits its final report or charge sheet after completion of the investigation. If the police are having means with them, they can do it via email. Submitting a charge sheet, submitting a report, or any other material to the court via email is perfectly permissible, provided the police have that facility, the court does have that facility. If both sides are having that facility, that means it can be easily done. And in many districts, they are doing it, because many a times being present physically in the court is not being possible. So these are the recognized modes in our legal system, which permit the police, which permit the court to apply these modes and to discharge their functions. Then one thing that is noticeable, examination of witnesses. Whether it is a civil case, whether it is a criminal case, you know, the fate of the case depends upon the evidence, the quality of evidence. The party would lose or win the case based upon the quality of evidence it leads before the court. Witnesses are examined, you know what sort of evidence is there. Section 3 of the Evidence Act, oral evidence, including oral evidence, documentary evidence, including electronic records, tangible objects like bam, barud, lathi, guli, banduk, gas, milk, liquid, they are also evidence. So, your Evidence Act Section 3 is incomplete. It was drafted in 1872. Initially, it talked of only two sorts of evidence, oral evidence and documentary evidence. What is this katta? What is this country-made pistol, cartridge, the bomb, the splinters? They are also produced before the court as material exhibits, material pieces of evidence. What is this blood-stained soil, blood-stained clothes? They are intangible form. They are nowhere covered within the existing definition of Section 3, where word evidence has been defined. But over the periods, Supreme Court of India has clarified all these tangible objects which do not find place in Section 3 of the evidence in the definition clause, they are very much definition. If you correctly want to understand the ambit of the Evidence Act, the true meaning of the evidence law, then you must consult the leading decisions of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of India over last 6-7 decades has virtually rewritten a parallel Evidence Act. They have virtually rewritten a fresh Constitution of India by means of their judgments. आप दीपक सिंह हमें